I told you that you already know the day you're going to die, not your conscious mind. That's kept in the dark for good reason. But your soul has known since before you were born. It chose that day, that hour, that exact moment when it would release its hold on this physical form and return home. This isn't about fate or predestination. This is about something far more profound that Edgar Cayce discovered in his thousands of readings, a truth so shocking that most people can't accept it even when the evidence is right in front of them. Your death isn't something that happens to you. It's something your soul orchestrates, times, and ultimately chooses. And here's what will completely shift your understanding of life itself. People unconsciously prepare for their departure months, sometimes years in advance. They tie up loose ends they don't even realize are loose. They have conversations that later seem prophetic. They give gifts that become precious, final gestures, all orchestrated by part of them that knows what's coming. You've seen this yourself, haven't you? After someone passes, you look back and think, it's like they knew. The sudden urge they had to visit everyone, the way they organized their affairs, that strange peace that came over them, that wasn't coincidence. That was their soul preparing for a journey it had already scheduled. The blueprint written before birth. Edgar Cayce called it the soul's blueprint, a comprehensive life plan created before incarnation. But unlike what many believe, this blueprint isn't rigid. It's more like a GPS with multiple routes to the same destination. The soul chooses the starting point, the major waypoints, and yes, multiple potential exit points. Think of it like booking a flight with several possible connections. You might take the early flight or the late one, the direct route or the one with layovers, but the destination remains the same. Your soul, in consultation with its guides and teachers, identifies several moments in your life when departure would be appropriate, when the lessons are complete, when your purpose is fulfilled, when your leaving would serve the highest good. These aren't random moments. Cayce saw that they align with specific astrological configurations, completed karmic cycles, and, most importantly, with the soul contracts you have with others. Your death, shocking as this may sound, is often more about what it teaches others than what it means for you. A mother who dies young might have contracted to give her children the experience of early loss, not as cruelty, but as a catalyst for their spiritual awakening. A man who lives to 90 might have agreed to be the family anchor, holding space for multiple generations to learn specific lessons. Every departure is precisely timed for maximum spiritual impact. The soul's calendar. But here's where Cayce's insights become truly extraordinary. He discovered that souls begin their departure process long before the physical body shows any signs. He called this the turning inward, and it typically begins 6 months to 2 years before death. During this period, the soul gradually withdraws its energy from earthly attachments. Not consciously. The personality might still be making 5-year plans, but energetically. It's like a plant slowly pulling its life force back into the seed before winter. This is why so many people report that their loved ones seemed to fade before they died, even if they weren't physically ill. The soul begins visiting the other side during sleep more frequently. Dreams become more vivid, more meaningful. Deceased loved ones appear more often, not as memory but as preparation, helping the soul remember what awaits. Have you noticed how some people talk about seeing deceased relatives in their final months? They're not hallucinating. They're attending planning meetings for their upcoming transition. This withdrawal happens in stages. First, the soul releases its attachment to future plans. That person who was always planning next year's vacation suddenly loses interest. Then comes detachment from possessions, giving things away, not caring about material items that once seemed important. Finally, There's an emotional settling, a resolution of old conflicts, a need to say things left unsaid. The choosing moments. Now, let's talk about something that might disturb you, but it's essential to understand. Cayce revealed that in most cases, the soul has multiple exit opportunities and actively chooses which one to take. That heart attack that someone survives, their soul considered leaving but decided to stay. That accident that someone miraculously walks away from, a door the soul opened but chose not to walk through. This is why near-death experiences are so transformative. The soul literally stood at the threshold, looked at what lay beyond, and made a conscious choice to return. Sometimes for unfinished business, sometimes for loved ones, sometimes simply because it wasn't the optimal exit point for everyone involved. But when the soul does choose to leave, the coordination is remarkable. Cayce described it as a cosmic choreography where everything aligns: the body's vulnerability, the life circumstances, the readiness of loved ones, even if they don't feel ready, and the soul's own evolutionary needs. Think about the timing of deaths you've witnessed. How often does someone hold on just long enough to see a grandchild born, to witness a child's wedding, to reconcile with an estranged family member? How often does someone die just after their spouse, as if they were waiting? This isn't the body making these decisions. This is the soul, operating with knowledge and wisdom the conscious mind can't access. The 3-day window. Cayce identified something remarkable that happens approximately 72 hours before the soul's chosen departure time. He called it the opening of the veil. During this period, the soul exists simultaneously in both dimensions, making final preparations on both sides. This is when those mysterious goodbye experiences happen. Someone suddenly feels compelled to call a friend they haven't spoken to in years, and that friend dies 3 days later. A daughter has an overwhelming urge to visit her mother, arriving just in time. A person appears in multiple people's dreams on the same night, and within days, they're gone. The soul, knowing its departure is imminent, sends out energetic pulses to those it needs to connect with. Not everyone receives these signals consciously. It depends on their sensitivity, their openness, their own soul's awareness. But the signals are sent like a cosmic roll call, gathering energy and attention for the transition about to occur. During this 3-day window, the departing soul also experiences what Cayce called the life preview, not to be confused with the life review that happens after death. This preview allows the soul to see the completed tapestry of its current incarnation, to understand how all the threads wove together, to appreciate the perfection of even the imperfect moments. If you've ever been with someone in their final 72 hours, you might have witnessed this. The moments of clarity where they seem to understand everything, the peaceful smile that comes from nowhere, the look in their eyes that suggests they're seeing something beautiful you can't perceive. They're watching their life from the soul's perspective, finally understanding the meaning behind the seeming chaos. If this is resonating with your own experiences, if you've witnessed these mysterious preparations, or felt these unexplainable urgencies, share your story in the comments. These synchronicities are more common than most people realize, and sharing them helps others understand the deeper patterns at work. And if you're finding value in these insights, consider subscribing. We explore these profound mysteries every week, always seeking to understand the deeper workings of existence. Why souls choose difficult departures. This brings us to one of the most challenging aspects of Cayce's revelations. Why would a soul choose a difficult death? Why cancer instead of peacefully in sleep? Why an accident instead of old age? The answer transforms everything about how we understand suffering. According to Cayce, souls choose difficult departures for several reasons, none of which align with human logic, but all of which serve spiritual evolution. First, a challenging death can balance karmic debts, not as punishment, but as experience needed for complete understanding. A soul that caused suffering might choose to experience it, not because the universe is vengeful, but because experiencing both sides of an equation brings wisdom. Second, difficult deaths often serve as powerful teachers for those left behind. A child who dies of illness might catalyze medical research, inspire charitable foundations, or awaken spiritual seeking in hundreds of people. The soul agrees to this role before birth, understanding that its suffering will reduce suffering for others. Third, and this is profound, some souls choose difficult deaths as a form of rapid spiritual advancement. The consciousness work required to maintain peace, faith, and love through physical suffering can accomplish what might otherwise take several lifetimes. It's like choosing the advanced course instead of the beginner level. Harder, yes, but leading to faster growth. The permission process. Here's something that will change how you think about every relationship in your life. Cayce discovered that souls don't leave without permission, not from God or the universe, but from the souls they're most connected to. This permission isn't given consciously. You're not aware of granting it, but soul to soul, agreements are made. This is why sometimes a dying person holds on despite unbearable suffering. They're waiting for permission from someone who isn't ready to let go. And it's why sometimes, the moment a family member finally says, "It's okay, you can go," the person dies within hours. That verbal permission aligns with a soul-level release that allows departure. This permission process explains something else. Why some people aren't present for a loved one's death despite desperate efforts to be there. Their soul might have agreed to not be present, understanding that their absence would make the departure easier. Or conversely, why someone feels compelled to be present and arrives just in time, their soul committed to witnessing, to being part of the transition team. Think about deaths you've experienced. Who was there? Who wasn't? What permissions were given or withheld? The patterns, when you look for them, are remarkable. The preparation symptoms. Cayce identified specific symptoms that indicate a soul is preparing for its chosen departure. These aren't medical symptoms. Doctors might find nothing wrong. They're spiritual symptoms, signs of the soul gradually disconnecting from physical reality. First comes what he called the distant gaze. The person seems to be looking through rather than at things. They're seeing with split vision, partly here, partly somewhere else. Their attention drifts not from confusion, but from expansion. They're perceiving more than the physical world. Then comes the sorting dreams. Vivid dreams where they're organizing, packing, preparing for a journey. They might dream of airports, train stations, boats departing. They're not symbolic dreams, but actual preparation experiences, the soul practicing for its upcoming transition. There's also the gathering urge, a sudden need to see specific people, to visit meaningful places, to touch important objects. The soul is saying goodbye, collecting final sensory memories, completing energetic connections. This isn't conscious nostalgia, but unconscious completion. Finally, there's the lightening. Not enlightening, but lightening, as if a burden has been lifted. The person seems younger, more peaceful, almost luminous. The soul has already partially departed, leaving just enough presence to maintain the body, but free from the full weight of earthly incarnation. When the soul changes its mind. But here's something remarkable. Souls can and do change their minds. Cayce documented numerous cases where everything indicated imminent departure, But the soul chose to stay. A miraculous recovery, an unexpected remission, a sudden turn toward health that baffles medical professionals. What causes a soul to reconsider? Sometimes it's the intense love and need of family members. Not their clinging, but their genuine soul-level request for more time. Sometimes it's an uncompleted purpose the soul suddenly remembers or receives. Sometimes it's simply that the soul, standing at the threshold, realizes it has more to experience, more to give, more to learn in physical form. These soul-level decisions explain why some people with terminal diagnoses live years longer than predicted, while others with minor conditions suddenly die. It's not about the strength of the body or even the will of the personality. It's about the soul's assessment of whether its work is complete. This is why Cayce always emphasized that healing must address the soul, not just the body. You can repair the physical vehicle, but if the soul has chosen to leave, it will find another way. Conversely, if the soul chooses to stay, it can override seemingly impossible physical conditions. The sacred contract of departure. Every soul's departure is part of a sacred contract that involves not just the departing soul, but everyone in their life circle. Your presence in someone's life at their time of death, or your absence, is part of this contract. The way they die, when they die, even where they die, all of it was agreed upon by all involved souls before any of you were born. This doesn't mean everything is predetermined. The contracts have flexibility, contingency clauses, multiple possible outcomes. But the general framework, who needs to learn what from whom, that's established in advance. This is why some deaths bring families together, while others tear them apart. Why some departures inspire spiritual awakening, while others trigger spiritual crisis. The death itself is just the catalyst. The real purpose is the transformation it creates in the living. Understanding this transforms grief. Yes, you miss the physical presence. Yes, you mourn the future you won't share. But knowing that this timing, this manner, this entire experience was agreed upon by your souls for your mutual growth, that changes everything. It doesn't eliminate pain, but it gives it meaning. Reading the signs. So, how do you recognize when a soul, maybe your own, is preparing for departure? Cayce provided specific indicators that anyone can learn to recognize, not to create fear, but to allow for conscious preparation and completion. Watch for the withdrawal from future, when someone stops making long-term plans without depression or defeat, just disinterest. Notice the energy redistribution. When someone's energy shifts from external projects to internal reflection, pay attention to the completion conversations, discussions that seem to resolve decades-old issues without conscious intention. But most importantly, feel for what Cayce called the frequency shift. The person's entire energetic signature changes, becomes lighter, less dense, more translucent. It's as if they're slowly tuning to a different dimensional frequency, preparing to broadcast from a different station. These signs aren't meant to create paranoia about every behavior change. Most of the time, these symptoms mean nothing significant. But when multiple signs align, when your intuition activates, when you feel that knowing without knowing, trust it. Your soul recognizes what your mind might deny. Living with departure consciousness. Now here's the transformation this knowledge offers you right now, today, in this moment. Knowing that your soul will choose its departure time, that it's already identified possible exit points, that everything is more orchestrated than random. How does this change how you live? First, it removes the victim consciousness around death. You're not a helpless player in a cosmic game of chance. Your soul is the author of your story, including its ending. This doesn't mean your ego gets to choose when you die, but it means your higher self has already chosen, and that choice serves your highest good. Second, it invites you to live with completion consciousness. Since you don't consciously know your departure date, treat each day as potentially significant. Not with morbid fear, but with sacred attention. What needs to be said? What needs to be forgiven? What needs to be completed? Third, it asks you to recognize the sacred contracts you have with others. Every relationship in your life exists for a reason, serves a purpose, teaches something essential, even the difficult ones, especially the difficult ones. They're all part of the soul agreements you made before incarnating. If this perspective is shifting something within you, let me know in the comments. Sometimes just acknowledging these deeper truths helps integrate them. And please, share this video with anyone who might be struggling with fear of death or confusion about life's meaning. Understanding the soul's role in choosing departure can be deeply healing. The practice of conscious preparation. Cayce recommended specific practices for living with awareness of your soul's eventual departure choice. Not to invite death, but to live more fully by acknowledging its reality. These practices prepare you not just for dying, but for living with greater presence and purpose. Each morning, greet your soul and thank it for another day in physical form. Acknowledge that this day was chosen, that your presence here today serves a purpose. Ask your soul what needs attention, what contracts need fulfilling, what love needs expressing. Each evening, review your day as if it were your last. Not with regret, but with appreciation. What did you experience? What did you learn? What did you give? If your soul chose tonight for departure, would you feel complete? Once a month, have what Cayce called a departure conversation with yourself. If you knew your soul was preparing to leave, what would you need to do? Who would you need to forgive? What would you need to say? Then, and this is crucial, do those things. Don't wait for the actual departure preparation. Live in constant completion. The ultimate truth about choosing. As we near the end of our journey together today, I want to share Cayce's most profound insight about the soul's departure choice. It's not really about choosing when to die. It's about choosing when the mission is complete. The soul doesn't leave because it's tired or broken or defeated. It leaves because it's accomplished what it came to accomplish. Sometimes that accomplishment is obvious. A life's work completed, children raised, wisdom shared. But often it's invisible to human eyes. A single moment of forgiveness that balanced lifetimes of karma. A quiet act of love that rippled through dimensions. A private realization that freed not just one soul, but an entire soul lineage. Your soul will know when it's complete. And when that moment comes, whether it's tomorrow or decades from now, the departure won't be tragedy, but graduation. Not abandonment, but accomplishment. Not ending, but transformation. Living as an eternal being. So here you are, right now, reading these words, very much alive, very much in the middle of your soul's chosen journey. What does knowing about the soul's departure choice give you? Freedom. Freedom from the fear that death is random, meaningless, or premature. Freedom to trust that your soul knows exactly what it's doing, even when your personality is confused. Freedom to live fully, knowing that your departure date isn't about luck, but about completion. Purpose. Every day you're here for a reason. Your soul chose this day, this moment, this breath. You're not killing time until death. You're fulfilling contracts, completing karma, expressing love that can only be expressed in physical form, and most importantly, peace. Peace with the departures you've witnessed, understanding they were chosen, not inflicted. Peace with your own eventual departure, knowing your soul will choose the perfect moment. Peace with the entire cosmic dance of arrival and departure, seeing it not as random chaos, but as orchestrated evolution. The choice available now. Before we part, I want to leave you with this. Your soul hasn't just chosen when to leave. It's choosing right now to stay. Every morning you wake up, that's your soul choosing another day in physical form. There's something here for you, something to learn, to heal, to complete, to give. Honor that choice. Don't waste it worrying about when it will end. Use it. Every day your soul chooses to stay is a day with purpose, with meaning, with possibility. You're not here by accident. You're here by choice, your soul's choice, and that choice is renewed every single day until the completion day arrives. Tonight, before you sleep, place your hand on your heart and feel it beating. That rhythm. That's your soul's choice made manifest. Thank it for choosing to stay. Ask it what tomorrow needs from you. Listen to its wisdom. And remember, the day your soul chooses to leave has already been marked on a calendar you can't see, in consultation with guides you don't remember, for purposes that serve not just you, but all existence. Until that day comes, you have work to do, love to express, growth to experience. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone fearing death, someone grieving a loss, someone questioning life's meaning. Join our community of seekers exploring these profound truths together. The day your soul chooses to leave will come. That's certain. But today, your soul chose to stay. And that choice, that beautiful, purposeful, sacred choice, is all that matters. Live from that knowing, love from that truth, and trust, always trust, that your soul knows exactly what it's doing. Until next time, remember, you're not dying, you're completing. And the difference between those two perspectives changes absolutely everything. The choice has been made. The journey continues, and the soul knows the way home.